The manila envelope hit the table during Sunday brunch the morning of my 25th birthday. My mother, Patricia, snatched it from my grandmother's old hope chest before I could process what I was seeing. "These are mine," she hissed, her knuckles white as she ripped the papers inside clean in half. I grabbed one torn piece from the air. The state seal caught the light first. Then the words, "Final Decree of Adoption." The room went silent. Forks stopped halfway to mouths. My Aunt Deborah's coffee cup froze mid-sip. Patricia's eyes locked on mine with a look I'd never seen before, pure panic wrapped in rage. "Everyone forget what you just saw," she ordered, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. My hand started shaking. I looked at the torn paper again, then at her. "So I'm not your daughter?" The words fell out of my mouth like stones. Patricia's face went cold. "You're whatever I say you are." That's when I knew my entire life had been a lie. I pushed back from the table, so hard my chair tipped over. The crash echoed through the dining room, but I barely heard it. My legs carried me toward the front door on autopilot. Behind me, chairs scraped against hardwood. Someone said my name, but it sounded like it was coming from underwater. My Aunt Deborah followed me outside, her hand reaching for my shoulder. "Honey, she didn't mean it like that," she said, her voice soft and useless. I turned to look back at the house. Patricia stood in the doorway, her silhouette dark against the light. Then she stepped back inside and the lock clicked. The sound was small, but it echoed in my chest. My own mother had just locked me out of the house where I'd lived my entire life. I stood on the porch holding half a torn adoption decree, watching through the window as Patricia gathered the remaining pieces and stuffed them into her purse. Deborah squeezed my arm. I pulled away. "I need to go." 3 hours later, my phone buzzed with a group text. Patricia had sent it to the entire family. What happened this morning was a misunderstanding. No one mentions it again. This is not up for discussion. I read it twice, then took a screenshot. Something about the way she phrased it like a command, not a request, made my stomach turn. I opened my photos and stared at that screenshot for a long time. She wasn't asking us to forget. She was ordering us to pretend. That's when something shifted inside me. For 25 years, I'd followed Patricia's rules. Don't ask questions. Don't make waves. Keep family business private. But this wasn't family business. This was my life. I opened a new note on my phone and typed, "Things I need to find out." Under it I wrote, "Who is Marisol?" The name had been on that postcard I'd seen years ago in the hope chest, the one Patricia said was from an old friend. Growing up in Patricia's house meant living by her rules. No locked doors except hers. No questions about the filing cabinet in her closet. No looking through old photos without permission. I remember being 7 and asking why I didn't have a baby book like my cousin. Patricia's face went tight. "Some things got lost in a move," she said, then changed the subject so fast I got whiplash. My father Tom was different. Quiet, gentle, always saying, "Don't upset your mother," whenever I pushed too hard on something. He'd smooth things over with a joke or a distraction. Looking back now, I could see the pattern. Every time I got close to a question that mattered, one of them would redirect me. It wasn't love protecting me. It was control. The locked filing cabinet suddenly made sense. The way Patricia handled all my medical paperwork herself, never letting me see the insurance forms. The strange tension whenever relatives visited and someone mentioned the day I was born. I thought it was normal family weirdness. Now I knew it was a carefully constructed wall around a secret I wasn't supposed to find. The blood type discrepancy showed up on a routine medical form at work. Our company was doing a health screening drive, and I'd filled out the questionnaire without thinking much about it. Typo positive. I remembered that from a blood drive in college. But when I pulled up my insurance information to double-check something else, I noticed my parents' blood types listed on the old family plan documents. Patricia, a negative. Tom, B positive. I stared at my computer screen. 2 biology classes in high school had taught me enough to know that 2 parents with A and B blood couldn't produce a typo child. My hands went cold. I Googled it anyway, hoping I'd remembered wrong. Every result confirmed what I already knew. Genetically impossible. I closed my laptop and sat very still in my cubicle. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Around me, coworkers typed and talked and laughed. And I sat there realizing that even my blood had been telling me the truth. My body didn't match my family. That weekend, I told Tom I needed to grab something from the attic. He barely looked up from his newspaper. Take a flashlight, he said. Bulb's been out for months. I climbed the narrow stairs with my phone's flashlight instead, dust motes swirling in the beam. The hope chest sat in the corner where it always had, my grandmother's initials carved into the lid. I'd been through it 100 times as a kid, playing dress-up with old scarves and costume jewelry. But this time I moved slowly, deliberately. Under the photo albums, I found it. A hospital photo of Patricia in a gown, holding a blanket-wrapped bundle. The date written on the back was 4 months after my supposed birthday. My birthday was March 15th. This photo was dated July 22nd. Behind it, tucked into an envelope, was that postcard. The one I'd seen years ago and forgotten about. Faded, the edges soft with age. Thinking of you always. Marisol. No last name. No return address. Just a postmark from Arizona and a date. 1 year after I was born. My coworker Brenna brought the DNA kit to lunch as a joke. My sister got me one for Christmas, she said, sliding it across the table. But I already know I'm 100% Irish and 100% done with my family. She laughed. You want it? Might be fun. I stared at the box. The company name was printed in cheerful blue letters. Discover your roots. Connect with relatives. Learn your story. Sure, I heard myself say. Why not? 3 weeks later, I got the email notification. Results ready. I was sitting in my car in the work parking lot when I opened them. Ethnicity breakdown. 52% Hispanic, 31% Indigenous American, 17% European. None of that matched what Patricia had always told me. You're English and German, she'd said. Like your father and me. But that wasn't the part that made my hands shake. It was the relative section. 0 close matches on Patricia's side, 0 on Tom's side, but 1 strong link listed as possible parent/child relationship with a woman in Phoenix. Name, M. Vega. I sat in that parking lot for an hour, just staring at my phone screen while my coffee went cold. I waited until Tom was out of the house. Patricia sat at the kitchen table with her crossword puzzle, reading glasses perched on her nose. I need to ask you something, I said. She didn't look up. I'm listening. Why did you lie to me? Her pen stopped moving. Slowly, she set it down and removed her glasses. When she looked at me, her eyes were flat and cold. About what exactly? About where I came from. About who I am. She stood up, her chair scraping against the tile. You wouldn't be here otherwise, she said, her voice eerily calm. Do you understand that? You wouldn't exist in this family if I hadn't made certain choices. What choices? My voice cracked. What did you do? For just a second, her mask slipped. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. You were mine the second they placed you in my arms. Then she straightened, the coldness returning. This conversation is over. She walked out of the kitchen, and I heard her bedroom door close. Lock. I stood there alone, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it. I caught Tom in the garage 3 days later. He was organizing his tools, something he did when he was avoiding Patricia. Dad, I said, I need you to tell me the truth. He didn't turn around. His shoulders sagged. About what, kiddo? About me. About where I came from. The wrench in his hand clattered against the workbench. He braced himself against the table, head down. Your mother said it was paperwork, he finally said, his voice barely audible. After the stillbirth, she said she arranged everything through a lawyer friend. I just signed what she put in front of me. He turned to face me then, and I saw guilt carved into every line of his face. I didn't ask questions. I should have, but I was grieving, and she seemed so sure, and then they brought you home and you were perfect. Tears rolled down his cheeks. I loved you from the first second. That part was never a lie. I wanted to be angry at him. Part of me was. But looking at him, I saw what Patricia had done. She'd used his grief as a weapon. The county records office smelled like old paper and floor wax. The clerk, a woman in her 60s with kind eyes, took the torn document I'd carefully taped back together. I need information about this adoption, I said. She studied it through her bifocals, frowning. This is from 1999. Most of these records are sealed. I know, but that's my name on it. Doesn't that mean something? She glanced at me, then back at the paper. Something in her expression shifted. "Wait here," she said. She disappeared into a back room for 20 minutes. When she returned, she was holding a thin folder. "I remember this case," she said quietly. "There was a filing error years ago. Some documents got mixed into the wrong system." She opened the folder, just enough for me to see a docket number and one name typed at the top. Marisol Vega. "I can't give you this file," she said carefully. "But I can tell you that if someone wanted to search public records using this docket number, they might find something." She wrote the number on a sticky note and slid it across the counter. "Good luck, honey." I found the number through a private investigator database that cost me $89 I couldn't afford. My hand shook as I dialed. It rang 4 times. I almost hung up. Then a voice answered, older and soft, with an accent I couldn't quite place. "Hello." I couldn't speak. My throat closed up. "Hello," she said again. "Is someone there? Is this Marisol Vega?" I finally managed. Silence. Then, "Yes." "Who is this?" "My name is Frankie Tate. I think you might be my mother." The sound she made wasn't quite a gasp, wasn't quite a sob. "Frankie." Her voice broke. "Oh my God. Frankie. You know my name? I've prayed every year that you'd find me," she whispered. "Every single year since they took you." I pressed the phone so hard against my ear it hurt. "They told me the adoption was closed," Marisol said, words tumbling out fast. "They said you'd have a good life, and I could never contact you. But I tried. I sent cards every birthday. Did you get them?" "No," I said. "I never got anything." Marisol mailed me a box overnight. It arrived on a Tuesday. Inside were birthday cards. 25 of them. Each one carefully preserved in a plastic sleeve. Each one addressed to Francesca Maria, care of the adoption agency. Each one stamped, "Returned to sender, not authorized for release." I spread them across my living room floor. Age 1, a card with a teddy bear. "I wonder if you're walking yet." Age 5, a princess card. "I hope you know you're loved." Age 10, a card with stars. "I hope you're brave and strong." Age 16, a simple card. "I hope you're happy. That's all I ever wanted for you." Age 25, a card she'd sent this year, before I called. "I hope you found peace. I'm still looking for mine." Every card signed the same way. "Love always, your first mama." I sat on my floor surrounded by 25 years of love that Patricia had blocked. Patricia had made sure these cards never reached me. She'd contacted the agency and had them marked unauthorized. She'd stolen 25 years of someone else's love to keep her lie intact. I called in sick to work the next day. Couldn't stop crying. Couldn't think straight. My best friend Kayla came over and found me on the bathroom floor, cards scattered around me. "Jesus, Frankie," she said, kneeling beside me. "What happened?" I told her everything. The adoption papers. The blood types. The DNA test. Marisol. The cards. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she pulled me into a hug so tight I could barely breathe. "You need to take time off," she said. "Like real time. Not just one sick day." That night, Patricia called. "I heard you've been making inquiries," she said, her voice icy. "People talk. You need to stop this before you destroy everything I built for you." "You mean everything you built on lies?" "If you keep digging, you'll tear this family apart." I looked at the cards spread across my coffee table. "You already did that," I said. Then I hung up on her mid-sentence. The power in that tiny act almost made me laugh. The package from Marisol arrived on Friday. Bigger this time. Inside were photos I'd never seen. Me as a newborn, so tiny and red. Me in a hospital bassinet. A bracelet around my ankle with my birth date and baby girl Vega printed in smudged ink. A discharge form from Desert Springs Medical Center with Marisol's signature and my footprints. The date matched. March 15th, 1999. But the hospital was in Phoenix, not Spokane where Patricia had always said I was born. There were more photos. Marisol holding me, tears on her face. A nurse beside her, name tag visible. Donna Perry RN. A Polaroid of the nursery with my bassinet marked Vega. And at the bottom of the box, carefully wrapped in tissue paper, was a tiny knitted bracelet. Pink and white. The card attached said, "I made this the week before you were born. I wanted you to have something I touched. I put it on my wrist. It barely fit, but I wore it anyway like armor. For 2 weeks, I didn't make a decision. I'd wake up determined to meet Marisol, then spend the day terrified of what Patricia would do. The fear was old, wired deep. Patricia had raised me to believe that going against her meant losing everything. But every time I looked at those birthday cards, that fear got smaller. I called Kayla one night. What if meeting her ruins everything? Kayla didn't hesitate. What if not meeting her ruins you? That landed hard. I thought about the version of myself who didn't know the truth, who lived her whole life thinking she was crazy for feeling like she didn't fit, who died never knowing someone had loved her from day one and been blocked at every turn. I couldn't be that person. I booked the flight on a Tuesday. Phoenix, 1 week out. Round trip, because I wasn't sure how long I'd need. When I clicked confirm purchase, my hands were steady for the first time in months. I texted Marisol, "I'm coming to meet you. Is that okay?" Her response came in seconds. "More than okay. I'll be there." Marisol was waiting outside a small cafe in Phoenix, holding carnations. I recognized her from the photos she'd sent, but seeing her in person stopped me cold. We had the same eyes. Dark brown, same shape, same way of standing with our shoulders slightly hunched, like we were protecting ourselves. She saw me and her whole face crumbled. "Frankie," she whispered. I crossed the sidewalk. She met me halfway. The hug was immediate, desperate. She smelled like vanilla and laundry soap. Her hands shook against my back. "You're so tall," she said through tears. "You look just like your grandmother." "I have a grandmother." "Had," she said softly. "She passed 2 years ago. But she never stopped asking about you." We stood there on the Phoenix sidewalk, two strangers connected by blood and stolen time, crying in each other's arms while people walked past. Finally, she pulled back and touched my face like she couldn't believe I was real. "Come inside," she said. "We have 25 years to catch up on." Marisol told me everything over coffee that went cold. She'd been 19 when she got pregnant. No boyfriend, no support, just a complicated pregnancy that left her terrified. "I wanted to keep you," she said, gripping her mug. "But I was alone and scared. My family had disowned me. I had no money, no job, no insurance." That's when Patricia entered the story. She was a nurse at the hospital. She was kind at first. Said she understood. Said she could help me find a good home for you. Marisol's voice went hollow. She told me about a couple who couldn't have children. Said they'd love you and give you everything. She handled all the paperwork. But Marisol didn't know Patricia had lost her own baby 2 weeks earlier. Stillborn at 38 weeks. Tom had been destroyed. Patricia had been desperate. "She took you the day you were born," Marisol said. Said the couple was waiting. I signed the papers she gave me. I was so out of it from the delivery, I barely read them. She looked at me with devastated eyes. "I didn't know she was keeping you for herself." We spent the next day gathering proof. Marisol kept everything. The original hospital discharge papers with both our names. The consent form she'd signed, notarized and dated. Photos of Patricia in her nurse's uniform from that time, name badge visible. Patricia Tate, RN, Desert Springs Medical Center. Marisol even found Donna Perry, the nurse from the photo. Donna was retired now, living in Mesa. She agreed to meet us at a Denny's. "I remember you," Donna said when she saw Marisol. Then she looked at me. "And I remember you too, sweetheart. You were the tiniest thing." She turned to Marisol. "I always wondered what happened." Patricia said she was facilitating a private adoption through a lawyer. But there were things that didn't sit right. "Like what?" I asked. Donna hesitated. Like how fast it happened. Like how Patricia was back at work 2 weeks after her own loss, acting like nothing happened. Like how she stopped talking to everyone at the hospital after you were born. She wrote out a statement for us right there, on Denny's napkins first, then on proper paper later. Witnessed and notarized. The family reunion text came through while I was still in Phoenix. Patricia had moved it up 2 months early. Family gathering the Saturday. Everyone expected. No exceptions. The date was circled, bolded, highlighted in her message. She was trying to control the narrative before I could. Kayla texted me. "She's telling everyone you're having a breakdown. Says you're making up stories about being adopted." I read the message twice. Then I smiled. "What?" Marisol asked, seeing my expression. My mother thinks she can bury this by gathering everyone together, I said. She wants to tell her version first. What are you going to do? I pulled up the venue's phone number. The reunion was always held at the same community center. I'd been going there since I was a kid. I'm going to make sure the truth shows up before her lies do, I said. Then I called the venue coordinator. Hi, this is Frankie Tate. I need to add one name to our family reunion guest list. I gave Marisol's information. The coordinator confirmed without question. When I hung up, Marisol looked terrified. Are you sure? I'm sure, I said. It's time. I flew home 2 days before the reunion. Tom met me at the airport. He looked older, tired. We drove in silence for a while before he spoke. Your mother is furious that you left. I know. She thinks you're trying to embarrass her. I turned to look at him. Dad, she stole me. From Marisol. From you. From everyone. He gripped the steering wheel tighter. I know, he said quietly. I've known for a long time that something was wrong. I just didn't want to see it. We pulled into a parking lot, and he turned off the engine. When you were little, I used to wonder why you didn't look like either of us. Patricia said you took after her grandmother. I believed her because it was easier. He looked at me with red eyes. I'm not going to let her do this anymore. At the reunion, whatever you need to say, I'll be standing beside you. I hugged him across the center console. Thank you, I whispered. That night, we laid everything out on his kitchen table. Photos, documents, statements. He helped me organize it all into a presentation. She's going to hate us both, he said. Yeah, I agreed. She will. The night before the reunion, Patricia called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hi, Mom. Sweetheart. Her voice was warm, syrupy. I'm so glad you're home. I wanted to apologize for how things went. I shouldn't have gotten so upset. Okay, I said carefully. Tomorrow will be a good day. Family together, like always. I'm proud of you, you know. You're finally learning to let things go. The manipulation was so obvious now. She thought I'd given up. You'll see tomorrow, I said. See what? Her voice sharpened slightly. Just that I love you. And I hope we can all move forward. I hung up before she could respond. Kayla, who was sitting beside me, raised her eyebrows. That was cold. That was necessary, I corrected. I spent the rest of the night practicing what I'd say, going over the slideshow Tom and I had created, testing the presentation clicker, making sure every photo, every document, every piece of truth was ready. I barely slept, but when morning came, I was ready. The community center buzzed with voices when I arrived. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't seen in years. Kids running between tables. The smell of Patricia's famous potato salad. She stood at the center of it all, holding court, smiling like she'd already won. Then I walked in, with Marisol. The room didn't go silent immediately, but I watched the awareness spread like ripples. Conversations faltered, heads turned. Patricia's smile froze. Tom appeared at my side, then moved to stand next to Marisol. Protective, claiming his position. Thank you all for coming, I said, my voice louder than I expected. I know this is sudden, but I have something important to share. Patricia stepped forward. Frankie, this isn't the time. It's exactly the time. I cut her off. I clicked the presentation remote. The first slide appeared on the screen, a baby photo of me. Most of you know this photo. It's been in our family album for years. Click. The next slide, my hospital discharge papers from Desert Springs Medical Center. Phoenix, Arizona. March 15th, 1999. What you don't know is where it was actually taken. The slideshow rolled methodically, each image built on the last. Baby photos cross-cut with official documents. Patricia's employee badge from the Phoenix hospital. The adoption decree with both signatures visible. Marisol's consent forms. Donna Perry's notarized statement. The birthday cards, all 25 of them, stamped return to sender. The room was completely silent now. I watched my relatives' faces shift from confusion to understanding to shock. My Aunt Deborah had her hand over her mouth. My Uncle Frank just stared. Patricia tried to speak several times, but no words came out. Finally, I stopped the slideshow on one image, me and Marisol at the cafe in Phoenix, laughing, side by side. Same eyes. Same smile. You hid my adoption for 25 years, I said, looking directly at Patricia. You made sure my biological mother's letters never reached me. You built a life on a lie. I took a breath. I'm grateful you raised me, but I will not be lied to anymore. Then I turned to Marisol. This is Marisol Vega. She's my mother. Patricia's face went purple. She gave you away, she screamed. I saved you. You stole me, I said quietly. There's a difference. Marisol stepped forward, hands shaking but voice clear. I never wanted to give her up, she said. I was 19, alone and terrified. Patricia told me she knew a loving couple who would give Frankie everything. She never told me that couple was her and her husband. She never told me I could change my mind. She never told me she blocked every card I sent. She pulled out the hospital discharge form, the original. This is proof. My signature, my baby's footprints. Patricia witnessed it as a hospital employee. She looked around the room. I have spent 25 years wondering if my daughter was okay, if she was loved, if she even knew I existed. Tom stepped forward then. The room turned to him. I didn't know, he said, his voice breaking. Patricia told me she arranged a legal adoption after we lost our baby. I was grieving and I didn't ask enough questions. I signed what she put in front of me. That's my shame to carry. He looked at me. But Frankie deserves the truth. All of it. Patricia lunged for the laptop, trying to shut down the presentation. My cousin Marcus stepped between them. Don't, he said firmly. Patricia turned wild eyes on the room. You're all going to believe them, she shouted. After everything I've done for this family? Aunt Deborah stood up slowly. Patricia, she said quietly. I've suspected something was wrong for years. The way you controlled every story about Frankie's birth. The way you refused to let anyone see old medical records. She shook her head. This makes sense. All of it. The room turned. Dozens of eyes, no longer looking at me with pity or confusion. Looking at Patricia with something worse. Understanding. Patricia tried to storm out, but the door was blocked by family members who wanted answers. She ended up collapsing into a chair, defeated and furious. Several relatives came to me, apologizing for not seeing it sooner. My Uncle Frank pulled me aside. Your grandmother always said something was off about your birth story, he admitted. But Patricia was so convincing. We just stopped asking. The reunion dissolved early. Some people left immediately. Others stayed to talk to Marisol, welcoming her carefully, tentatively. Tom stood with us the entire time, a united front. 3 weeks later, Patricia moved to her sister's house in another state. She sent one text. I did what I thought was right. You'll understand when you're a mother. I didn't respond. Instead, I went to court and legally changed my name to Francesca Maria Vega Tate. Francesca, because that's what Marisol named me. Maria, after Marisol's mother. Vega Tate, because both names are part of who I am now. Marisol visits once a month. We're building something careful and real. Not trying to replace 25 lost years, just creating new ones. Last week, I hosted a small dinner. Just Marisol, Tom, Kayla, and a few cousins who chose truth over comfort. I pinned Marisol's first birthday card to my refrigerator. The one meant for a 1-year-old I never got to be. It sits there now, a quiet trophy. Proof that I wasn't crazy. Proof that I was kept in the dark. And proof that I finally walked into the light. My name is Francesca Maria Vega Tate. I'm 25 years old. And this is the first day of my real life.